From 48 Hours to Trading Places and The Golden Child, this week HMP closes out 80s Eddie Murphy with the movie that would give us more Eddie than ever before. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, when you think of garbage, think of Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet.
How dare you, Portress? How dare you?
And we hate to make this early announcement, but he's the new spokesperson for Soul Glow, Bruce Leslie.
I was going to say I'm more of a Randy Watson type.
That is true. If we're honest about it, you are more of that get up on stage and have, their crickets going and stuff after your giant performance.
One
and
guy in an auditorium full of people going, that boy good.
He's good. He's a good one. I like that guy.
I believe the children are our future.
Thank you very much.
I don't know what it was about that time and place, but like at the late 80s and early 90s, we were singing that song left and right. Like it was like there was... Who was getting paid for that? Because there was so many times "Children Are Our Futures" being played all over the place. Whenever there was like a graduation or something, like
Celine Dion. That's how she had the Psychic Network or whatever. Was all that?
That's Dionne Warwick.
That's Dionne Warwick.
Potato.
They're so close. They look exactly alike.
My word.
Hey, the word Dion.
Potato.
The word Dion doesn't the name Dion doesn't come across my radar very often. I apologize.
That's quite all right. Well, welcome back, everybody.
We were going to let it slide till you said it's basically the same thing, and then we went after you. Just so you know, that's what happened.
So this week, we're talking about Coming to America. Sean, this was your choice, yes?
It was, and this is the movie that forever and ever I said, this is the hardest I've ever laughed watching a movie when I was a kid. Like number two is probably the first Naked Gun movie. This is number one. And I was very apprehensive about seeing this movie as an adult because I had not seen it since the 90s. And so now here we are. We've got our dumb show and it's Eddie Murphy month, which is great. And so I was very apprehensive going into this movie. And it took me a long time to break the seal on it, to watch it. And so I did, and we're going to get into it.
Yeah, it was, I think I was kind of the same way. And honestly, though, I think it was worse for me because I think I had only ever seen this on television way back in the day. And as you might imagine, not the same movie on television.
Definitely not.
No. I do remember, though, like my brother and his friends, they were like way bigger fans of this than me. And again, thinking back now, it's like you should not have been watching this at the age they were watching it for sure, because they would constantly quote the royal penis is clean. And I'm just like, I just don't know that this is appropriate for 11-year-olds.
Well, I mean, that's why that joke is in there. Yeah. It's because that is an 11-year-old's favorite joke.
Sean, how did you view this for the first time? I'm pretty sure I was an HBO watcher.
I saw it in the movie theater because I was a massive Eddie Murphy fan. And once it came to VHS, I was working at a video store at the time and I actually bought it, which was a very, very rare case for me. Like, we would get movies in and you get the pick of the litter because you work there. And I never took anybody up on that. And then this movie showed up and I was like, oh, yes, we're definitely going to be.
I feel like I lived in a place where they wouldn't let an unaccompanied child into a rated R movie, and there's no way my parents were taking me. Even at the video store, it could be tricky renting a rated R movie. So I definitely went to my cousin's house. We stayed up late and watched this on HBO when we were supposed to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a good one. We'll get into all of that. But before we do us a big old giant favor. Go over there to the YouTubes where we are actually broadcasting right now along with Twitch and Kick. We are streaming everywhere. And do us a big old giant favor, man. follow us over there. Hit that like and subscribe and the bell button there so you know when we're live, and you can come by and swing by and check out the old HMP live show here and everything. I'm also doing other live shows and, of course, dropping videos and stuff on the HMP channel. And I got a little bit of news coming up, and if you're in the live stream, you heard about this. I got a product review coming up in not too awful long, so you're going to be seeing some more videos about that coming up very soon. Just teasing, just a little bit of a tease. And you can do all that by heading on over to our YouTube page, man. Links are in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bruce?
Is it more Manscaped?
No, this is an honest to God. This is a home theater product, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
So I've reached out, and they've kind of reached back. And honestly, I thought they were going to drop everything. And it was just like, man, I hadn't heard back in like well over a month. I guess they just were like, man, we're not going to do anything. And sure shoot. And they were like, hey, are you going to be free next week for your delivery? And I'm like, yeah.
That's great, man.
So we're going to be doing all that stuff. And but yeah, hang over there on the YouTube. We really enjoy it. And thanks for hanging out in the chat there and stuff as well, everybody. And of course, you can always throw in a super chat there, which is always the best. We call those Portress Bucks. I think Sean has named them. Is that right?
That is correct. They're called Portress Bucks.
Yeah, so go ahead and throw that in there. You hear your little sound and get your comment read here on the air. And of course, that'd be fun for us as well. Let's get into it, fellas.
Hold on.
Yes,
we do have to give someone a nickname this
week.
week.
I'm so sorry. Yes. So patreon.com/HMP is also where you can go. I got notes here. I should have just looked at them. There you can get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. This week's Dinger Zone, we did our top 5 movies that scream America. And what America means to each of us is quite something different this week. I'll tell you that much.
Yes. Yes, that is well said. Yes.
Not quite the same for everyone. It's what America means to me, as it were. So go check that out. And you can be like our brand newest of Dirty Babies. Gregory Davis has become the latest member of the Dirty Babies gang. Sean, time to initiate Gregory with his new HMP nickname.
Well, first of all, Gregory, thank you. Thank you for joining HMP. It's good to have you. And as you may or may not know, now you get an official HMP nickname. And so Gregory Davis, you may or may not know this, but Davis is a surname that has been around since as far back as the 12th century, which I was amazed to hear because I didn't think that surnames went back that far, but it is. It means son of David in most cultures. But I wanted to get back to the 12th century of all of this, which is that in the 12th century, a lot happened. But I think that my fellow history fans probably know the 12th century best because it's when the Jin dynasty declared war on the Song dynasty.
Oh, the Song dynasty, of course.
Yes, of course. And so I thought, what a great name for a nickname. So Gregory Davis, from this point forward on HMP, you will be known as the Song Dynasty.
Ooh, all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, they gave us that kid from Home Alone's wife in the song.
So if you want to be like Gregory there, head on over to patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone to help this show keep going along there, man. And if nothing else, for heaven's sake, give a like on the YouTubes, and that makes it all nice and popular for us. Appreciate you. Let's get into it, fellas. Here is the IMDb plot line for Coming to America. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. An extremely pampered African prince travels to Queens, New York, and goes undercover to find a wife that he can respect for her intelligence and strong will. This is written by the team of David Sheffield and Barry W. Blausen, sure. Those guys wrote Police Academy 2, Boomerang, The Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, and The Honeymooners, new one with Cedric the Entertainer, and he wrote the most recent Coming to America 2. This is directed by John Landis, again, of course, Werewolf in London, Blues Brothers, Trading Places, Thriller, Twilight Zone. I'm sure he'll come up with this, and but Eddie worked with him in Beverly Hills Cop 3 coming up after this. Starring Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy, Why did I say Arsenio Hall first?
No one knows.
It's written Eddie Murphy first, but somehow my eyes just went straight to Arsenio Hall. That's what you do to me,
John
Arsenio.
Amos and Eddie Murphy star.
Okay, start again. Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Maggie Sinclair, John Amos, Sherry Headley, Vanessa Bell, Eric LaSalle, Clint Smith, Paul Bates, Allison Dean, Louis Anderson shows up, Sheila Johnson, Frankie Faison, Uncle of Haley, It's Body by Jake Steinfeld, and with special guest Samuel L. Jackson and amazing cameos by Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy.
Man.
So beautiful.
What that was, honestly, just because I don't know how long we would cover it in any other portion of the program here, that was one of my favorite stupid little bits in this movie, was a shout out back to Trading Places. What so awesome. Come
on. So do you guys know the story with that? With having the two guys from Trading Places in this movie?
John wanted to give them some extra work and something. It's just like, hey, this will be a fun little callback. It's both Paramount Pictures, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They're both. Well, if it's Eddie Murphy during this time, it's definitely Paramount. That was his production deal at the time. So here's what happens. So it's in the script, right? That they're in there. That the two guys from Trading Places are there, and Landis doesn't want it to be in the script. He doesn't like the idea. He thinks that it's way too inside baseball. And him and the producers start clashing, and they're getting heated about it, to the point where the producers are like, let's ask Eddie. And so he can be a neutral party in this. So they both go up to Eddie Murphy and they're like, what do you think of this? And it's in the movie. So we know what he thinks. It was interesting to me that Landis thought something was too inside baseball, because this is the same man who seems to put inside jokes within the set decoration of his movies constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you noticed, remember when we were talking about Trading Places, there's that poster on her wall in her apartment, in Jamie Lee Curtis's wall, that says "See you next Wednesday," and it's a movie poster. There is another movie poster in the train station, in the subway station, in this movie that says "See you next Wednesday." Only this time it's a sci-fi movie and it stars Jamie Lee Curtis. It's pretty amazing.
And I have seen the film once. I don't remember the details, but I read that Amici and Bellamy show up in Coming 2 with the number 2, not the word 2, America, the sequel to this, where they've rebuilt their fortune with the money he gave them in this movie.
What are they, 1,000 years old?
They're not. Neither man is alive.
They haven't been alive for probably the past 25 years.
I don't know. That's just what I read. That they went back, reinvested in some orange juice, and boom, there they are.
Where did you read this? Does it rhyme with high MDB?
No, it was in his copy of Bullshit Quarterly. What are you talking about?
With Neddit.
I haven't seen the movie because, much like with other movies that I love, if it looks bad, there's no way I'm going to see it. I have never seen Coming to America. I've also never seen the sequel to Get Shorty for the same reason.
Yeah, and the more years you add in between, the better it gets, I'm sure.
Right. It's very rare when you're like, wow, that was great.
Yeah, they knocked it out of like Blade Runner 2049. That's about it. Everything else is like, well, that's kind of crap. So start us off here, Sean. Sorry, I got you mid-sip.
Oh, it has it has their grandson. The grandson reestablishes Duke and Duke because
there
they
you
were
go.
dead. Colin Yost plays the offspring of. I guess the brothers had one son because they did creepy stuff, and it's Colin Yost, which that tracks.
It does track. We need generic, waspy white man. That's where you go, boy.
So there's two things right off the bat when this movie starts that I noticed. One is that Eddie Murphy getting a story by credit on this one, which we had not seen yet because he definitely didn't have that for Golden Child. So this is the first one.
I wonder about that.
Me as well. But
I'm like, I think it's one of those like, hey, Arsenio and I improv'd enough to where that counts as something, and maybe you arbitrage that through WGA or something. Maybe I don't know.
I think it goes back to Trading Places and that character he played on the train. I really do, because that is Prince Akeem.
I think that there is a very real possibility that they had to sweeten the pot just to get him to say yes to this.
Oh yeah,
in the first place. And he is a very shrewd businessman. He always has been. And so it makes me think that there is a very real possibility that he was like, hey, I have a neat idea for a story. And since it sort of kind of went along with the script that it was already available, he gets a story by credit.
And these were his writing boys. They would just, they ended up being his guys forever on stuff. So it was just kind of like, hey, it's the Family Guy meme where they were where Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are writing Good Will Hunting, and Ben Affleck's on the couch just going, hey, write my name on that, will you?
Well, the thing you need to know is that they didn't even cast Eddie till Mel Gibson turned down the role.
That would be fantastic if Mel Gibson was the original role for this one as well.
So the second thing I realized right off the bat with this movie is, first, this story by Eddie Murphy. Second, I have always been told when you're writing a screenplay, I mean, this is like a college 101, screenwriting 101. You never write a screenplay where your main character, literally the first scene in your first frame is your main character getting up in the morning. And this movie was like, no, that's exactly what we're going to do. That's how we're going to start this movie. And it kind of baffled me, where I was like, are they doing that on purpose? Like, is it because these two screenwriters are very good screenwriters? And so I'm like, what made you start with this thing that we've all been told never start your screenplay with your main character?
Well, I think the reason that it's there is ultimately just to show you just how opulent things are, how different this man's world is different from the world that we live in. We all know how we wake up every day. This man is woken up by, soft music being played by a quartet, or no, a sextet at least. I mean, there's several of those in there. And then lightly, every little tiny thing that was led into the beginning of his day to show how wildly over pampered he is and everything. So at least in that respect, it does work.
It wasn't a tight shot of a hand hitting a digital alarm clock, so they got that going for them.
That's true.
The next thing I noticed is, oh my, Eddie Murphy has been working out from Trading Places, or from Golden Child to this movie. Eddie Murphy has definitely been working out.
Yeah, he's changed. He's definitely changing a little bit. And this would be that start where you'd start to see him be a little bit more bulky and stuff like that, where you start to think that Eddie Murphy's a lot taller than he actually is.
Right.
And it looks like legitimate hitting the gym and not hitting the doctor's prescription in the pharmacy.
No, he ain't talking to Stallone.
If you're to believe the back matter for anything when it comes to Eddie Murphy doesn't do drugs. Eddie Murphy doesn't drink very often. Like, he's just not that guy. And so because of that, I would be very surprised to learn, like, oh, he was taking the cream and the clear the whole time.
Yeah.
The thing that's amazing to me is Eddie Murphy has said how many times in multiple interviews how much he loves food. He describes himself as an Epicurean. So it had to be tough to get to, be cut and everything, because you don't get that from eating a lot of French cuisine.
I don't know. You can he's in his early 20s and stuff at this point, so he can probably just burn through all of that anyhow. And he's always been kind of a slighter sort of dude. Anyways, he may just have one of the metabolisms that kind of, and he's only maybe getting the thicker here in the older years, as it tends to happen.
He had it till he don't.
Yep.
I was nowhere near as buff at 25 as I am now, and that's really saying something.
Something.
Next thing I noticed, Arsenio Hall shows up. They have that pretty great conversation where he's speaking to the king and queen, and it's very clear that the king and queen don't like Arsenio Hall. Like, right away, you're aware that they don't like him. And I thought that was that's a pretty fun dynamic, and it's something where you're like, oh, they had this. This is probably one of the first pieces they had, like, Eddie, because Eddie Murphy's character in this movie, like the main character he's playing, the character of Akeem, like, he has some funny moments, but he's kind of an uninteresting character because we've seen this character type 1,000 times already. But because of that, they surround this character with so many interesting characters throughout the rest of the movie that he kind of needs to be like almost like a blank slate, which is kind of what he is.
One of the things that I read in this is that this was the first movie, at least his recollection or whatever, that Eddie was just like, I didn't play myself anywhere in the movie. He's like, that was the first time I was really kind of proud of a role, because it was just like, oh, there's not a role in this where I'm just being Eddie. Mm-hmm. He's being someone else in every single role in here.
Something I loved about this movie, especially this month looking at 80s Eddie, is he always plays an outsider coming into a world in which he doesn't belong, but he's always been like smarter and better than all the rest. And here he comes in as the naive person who has to learn how to like be better. And to me, this was like a real different type of character for Eddie, particularly when you compare it to the movies we've watched so far this month.
Yeah, yes. This is a very fish out of water type scenario, like you're saying, Bruce. When's Crocodile Dundee? 85?
That was the comp I was going to say, is like when you compare this to Crocodile Dundee, he could just come in and use his African knowledge to show everybody how much
Australian.
Well, I'm saying that he's not Australian. Eddie's not Australian. So that would be the analog.
86.
Instead of Australian knowledge. Instead of Outback, it's sub-Saharan knowledge.
Right.
And he could bring that in and show everybody the errors of their ways, but instead he comes in and he learns.
Yeah.
And it's a real counter-programming kind of story to Crocodile Dundee. And it doesn't help that Paul Hogan doesn't have like the talent Eddie Murphy probably has in his well-manicured toes.
What?
But by the way, back in the video story, Indiana, it was called Indiana Dundee was the mockbuster I liked.
I think he's great in this movie. He seems so very assured of himself in every one of his roles in this. And there is such a sweetness with the way he plays Akeem and like it's amazing because Eddie Murphy was a ladies' man like nobody's business, right?
Right.
But he plays this kind of innocent man to a degree really, really well. It's just, I don't know, there's something about it, and like he has still this very kind of wholesome face and everything. So when he's on the swings and stuff and smiling with her and everything, it feels very sincere and stuff. He's doing like I think I've always kind of said during our 80s Eddie Murphy here and everything, Eddie's doing a lot more acting than I think he gets credit for.
And I love everything about the art design of the palace. I love it all. I love almost all the wardrobe. I love that like polo uniform that he's wearing, even though I get the feeling he's never played polo before.
What?
But I got to say, when it comes to like the crown that James Earl Jones is wearing, that is so more like stage quality prop. That's very theatrical, but not very cinematic, because you can tell they just went to their local craft shop and glued a bunch of fake gems to a cardboard crown. That
it
was
looks
wrapped
like
in
they put
gold
like
foil.
Jolly Ranchers on there and hot glued them on. I was like, that's good. Throw it out there.
Oh, cool.
And like
James Earl Jones is part of the Burger King Kids Club.
And then that great big golden necklace that's pretty iconic from this that Eddie wears. That is so much like cardboard wrapped in gold foil. Like it has no detail. They're just random shapes with nothing on them.
That's why no one tries to steal from them. They're like, that's fake.
And I mean, you're like sitting in the balcony of a stage production that looks great, but when you're watching it on camera, they needed like some inscriptions in those things. They needed some more detail. It really feels very somewhere between theatrical and Pee-wee's Playhouse, and some of the props. They're somewhere between props and wardrobe. I don't know what to call them, but I love the rest of the wardrobe other than like the gold.
Speaking of props, so in this movie, you see Eddie Murphy's face on a bunch of stuff. Like there's those shirts with Eddie's face on it as the prince. There's the coin that has his face on it.
Yep,
and the paper money.
There's paper money as well. So how many of those things do you think Eddie Murphy is still in ownership of? Do you think he owns any of those things?
I think one of each.
I would hope so. And like,
Yeah.
there's a weird thing about, and like, I don't know the man from nothing, but like, I maybe part of me thinks there'd be a little bit of sentimentality with Eddie Murphy, maybe just carrying small, like I could see him having a room of like crap that he had from movies and stuff like that. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. So I'm wondering if it's something where he's like, hey, can I get some of that money?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, why wouldn't you want some of that? Especially like the dollar bill and stuff that's got your face on it. Like that's badass.
So that's my question: is if you're going to the trouble to print that fake paper currency with his face on it, do you print one or do you print like a whole box of them?
Oh, they got to print a lot.
You never do one of anything because something can go wrong with one of something, especially when you're a big budget movie like this. So they probably. Usually when it comes to fake money, it comes in like denominations where you're like, let me get 100 of the hundreds. Let me get, that's how you usually purchase.
So I'm picturing him with a stockpile of these bills with his face on them that at least once he's taken to a gentleman's club and stuffed in a garter belt, because that's one way to get attention.
I think just having the face of Eddie Murphy himself will do that for him.
Yeah,
that's just a guess.
No, he goes in the Saul makeup.
Man, we'll get to the makeup.
I don't think the man has had much issue with women ever since he was 17 years old.
No, this guy's been doing okay in whatever department he would like to. Like, that's another thing when you really start to think back about Eddie Murphy and stuff, and just be like, you can't even imagine what this life was like. You can't. I just don't think it's possible for a normal person to kind of comprehend the life that this man's led.
No way.
Him and David Beckham are the only two people I know in the Spice Girl Club. So you go in.
What is your first laugh of the movie? Do you guys know? Because I can tell you I know exactly what my first laugh of this movie was, and I'll just go ahead and tell you so that you guys can think of it. Because my first actual honest to God laugh out loud moment is the moment where his assistant starts singing "She's Your Queen" to me in falsetto.
That is mine too, because I'm a real sucker for a big guy with a high pitched voice. I call it the Taika Waititi effect. It feels very like New Zealand to me because I think of that character from Thor with the Rocky guy. I can't remember his name now, but yes, he's my favorite supporting character just because of that scene right there.
So that guy's name is Paul Bates. And Paul Bates was a contestant on Win Ben Stein's Money.
How about that?
And he introduces himself as an actor on the show. And Jimmy Kimmel goes, have you been in anything that I might have seen? And Paul Bates says no.
Oh,
he had been in this. That. He had been in this.
I got to hide that because I'm going to be like, you been like, yeah.
Right.
You mentioned that, and Eddie Murphy gets all the chat, not you.
Yeah, what's Eddie like? I don't have to hear that 50 more times.
Something I also noticed about this movie is the theme song to Coming to America. That say, can't you see I'm coming to America? Mm-hmm. That movie, that song has been in my head for about 30 years, and it's not even good.
No,
it is so annoying. I can't even tell you.
So when the movie first starts and we get that opening music, I really thought most of my life that was familiar because of The Lion King.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there was a period of time like when Paul Simon made the Graceland album, and he had that diamonds on the bottom of your shoes, and I saw it like, I don't know, on Good Morning America or something with the whole very African themed musical backing group and all that kind of thing. And I was just thinking about how African sounds kind of had a moment there in pop culture, and this really jumped on that.
Yeah,
I like the music in the opening much better than the actual theme song.
By the time he gets to New York with the Coming to America theme starts playing, it's like, man, just go back to the tribal music, please. That Lady Smith Black Mambaza, that stuff.
I even wished that they had taken the James Brown classic, taken the word living out, put coming in, and just put with that. I would have liked that.
I like the introduction to his, wife to be and everything, just how long and drawn out that dance sequence is. is so hilariously funny. Of just like to me that was what a stupid and it felt like a John Landis joke all day long. Where it's like, let's have this dance number just go on.
Let's burn their money.
Yeah.
You know who choreographed that dance scene?
Paula Abdul, from what I saw in a book I read.
Correct.
Which is pretty awesome. And like, there's all kinds of little weird cameos with Toby Hooper walking around in the party scene and little chunk like that, where it's just like, oh, this is, John Landis was a dude that liked to have his friends around, which, by the way, also something that I noted, or at least I came across, because we were wondering about the Frank Oz connection. There's like an airport, in the airport and everything. They call for a Frank, and they say the last Oz. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's Frank Oz's actual full last name.
Oh, really?
So Frank Oz is being called out to things. So they're buddies. They're 1,000% buddies they're just kind of dropping little bits here and there. That's so cool. It's funny that Landis just goes, "That's too inside of a joke. You have a shout out to Frank Oz. Shut up."
We while we're still on, and because I'm going to roll by this, but and you guys probably know this connection, but we're talking about African music, and we're talking about this cast. It's just cool to think that James Earl Jones and the lady who plays the Queen in this movie are also the King and Queen in The Lion King.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, man.
Oh, maybe that's why I had the confusion. I never even made that connection, but that's Mufasa.
Yeah. He's like, I mean, it's just James Earl Jones, dude. Like he's kind of phoning this role in, but he doesn't have a whole lot to do, so you can't much blame him on it. But
he's definitely phoning this one in.
But he's still James Earl Jones, damn it.
Yes.
And he's got that voice and just that look, and you're just like, you know what? I know you're half-assing this, but God bless you.
Do you think we have some listeners, some folks that are checking this out that are still out there in the dating world? They're single.
Why not? I'm here.
Well, I got to say, from personal experience, it is not a good icebreaker on the first date to ask her to bark like a dog.
I hate that scene, man. I hate
awful.
I hate
it's
that
so
scene
bad.
so much, and it's kind of what my fear of this movie was how much of this does a 12-year-old boy think is funny versus me now? Like, how much of that is going to translate? And so when that scene happened, I was like, oh man, I might be in for a very long evening.
That bit feels like Landis to me.
A little bit. I mean, it's both. It's kind of Eddie Murphy. It's kind of John Landis.
Yeah,
both things.
That's true. Yeah, there's a little bit of Eddie because especially with the barking and I don't know, but yeah, it's a little bit like, okay, yeah, she'll do anything. You've gotten the point across.
Oof, man.
And there's a part of me that like wondered about what happened to this lady. I mean, where is her redemption? She spent her whole life to be prepared for one thing, and that thing didn't happen. And I kind of feel like we needed, if we're going to have the big happy ending, we needed to see like her with the Bates guy with the high pitched voice or something.
No, we needed a post credit sequence where she was still hopping on one foot and barking and wondering when the hell he was going to come back and tell her to stop. That's how you do it, everybody. Take notes, Paramount.
That's really rough.
So is this story a retelling of the Frog Prince? Is this an inverted Cinderella story? Like there's something basic here that makes this work, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
It's classic screwball comedy.
It's also a super basic script. I mean, if you don't have people playing multiple characters in this movie, this is a very, very simple script.
Oh yeah, it's almost dull and boring then. Like you're not coming for the story itself, but the performances in there and the story is the thing that gets you along to those points. You want to see Eddie laughing and doing his different bits and stuff like that. You want to see all those things. You're kind of there are moments, I think, honestly, when you're watching this movie, that there's a lot of folks that are just going to be like, oh, I'm just waiting for this moment. I'm just waiting for this moment. And the kind of, Akeem bits in the middle are like your transitionary scenes and stuff to your more fun stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I kind of miss that era where you could take just a really simple, straightforward story and make the most out of it.
Well, I mean, you can do it when your main character has all the charisma in the world. I mean, that's how you get away with it. That's when you had like gigantic movie stars who literally are like the worst actors in the world. I'm talking about like from the 50s and 60s, where it's like this person, I think this person can barely speak, but my God, when you put them in front of a camera, they just radiate charisma. And so you
Mhm.
can have very simple stories because it doesn't matter.
Kind of a John Wayne blueprint.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's exactly who I was referencing without saying the name. Yes.
But there are a lot of smart moments in this where, like, you know, they've made correct screenplay decisions and stuff. Where, like, you know, when Arsenio Hall says that he's the prince and stuff like that, just putting another little wrench, throwing enough, you know, things at the cat once it's up the tree and stuff. It does all of those things in such that great ABCD manner and everything. But it's the Eddie Murphy that brings you along throughout that journey that makes it all work.
So, you know, one of the things, like if we're going to start breaking into it, then like maybe it's because I'm a comedy snob at this point or whatever. But when the script is really like kind of like tearing any sort of goodwill it has. When we get to Eddie Murphy is now in America, and he gets to his what's about to be his apartment for the first time, and they pull the camera just basically pulls into the barber shop.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they introduce that is one of the clunkiest, like worst ways you could possibly do it, where they're just like, hey, I think literally Eddie Murphy's character, I think Akeem literally is saying something like, hey, what's happening over there? And the camera goes into the barbershop.
You almost hear the Fraggle Rock theme while they're doing it.
It's so bad. It's so
and then you
clunky.
just in there and it's bad.
It's so bad that I was like, man, I can't believe I can't believe how clunky this script is. I mean, it gets better, right? It gets a lot better over time. But
has there ever been any open acknowledgement that these scenes were somewhat of an inspiration for the barbershop movies? I like those barbershop movies. I like these scenes. I feel sort of a similar chemistry at times.
I think that anyone who says that they're not influenced by those scenes who wrote Barbershop are absolutely lying.
It's so good. Eddie's just ad-libbing and everything within those, his chemistry with everybody, and the fact that he's, you know, still interacting with himself as he would then, you know, go on to do many, many times over in other movies and stuff like that. It's really, really awesome. So let's talk for half a second about the makeup in here. So Rick Baker did the makeup for this movie. Academy Award nominated, but lost for some stupid reason, because I think they actually said the reason they think it lost was because a lot of people didn't realize that, like, you know, the Jewish guy was Eddie Murphy and stuff like they didn't realize, and so they gave it to, oh shucks, I forgot what it is off the top of my head, but it's not somebody that we think one. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, people are, come on. They only just made a rule this year for the Academy that says you have to watch all the movies that you vote on. They just made that rule now. So,
and how do they enforce it? I mean,
I don't know how they force anything over there. They just kind of catch can. But Rick Baker had like 8 weeks to put this makeup together.
Damn.
No time at all. Landis was just like, oh, yeah, by the way, we don't have any money. He's like, which he always said.
Yes.
So no one ever had any money. Eddie comes in, and he has a 25-person posse with him. And Rick is like, I can't do this. There's way too many people around. Eddie's holding court, as you might imagine. He's moving around. He's like, I can't put makeup on this guy. And he had to like sit him down and like, listen. Well, actually, he told John at first. He goes, John, you got to tell him that he can't bring all these people around here. John's like, I'm not telling him that.
Right.
He's like, you got to tell him. He's like, all right, I'll tell him. So he put him aside and said, listen, you just got to, this is too much. You know, it's like, nobody can be in here. We just need to set up everything. I need you to sit still and not move, just because otherwise we're going to be here for, 2-3 times as long. And he's like, all right. But can I have somebody in there with me? I was like, you can have one person in there that you can talk to for every now and then. But if he's too much, I tell him he's got to leave, and then he'll leave. And he's like, Eddie was fine after that one. But, he just would not just sit still or do anything, because Eddie was, at the height of his, powers here and everything at this point. And that's another thing, is that, he worked with Landis previously on Trading Places and stuff, worked with him here again. And Landis said, this was not the same guy that I was working with previously. Now, Eddie also said,
hold up. No, go ahead and say the Eddie part, and then I'll follow up.
Right. So Eddie basically is just like, and rightfully so, he's not brand new anymore. This isn't his first, run out and train here and everything. He's Eddie Murphy now, And so he says, like, I don't want to be treated like a kid anymore, but yet at the same time, John Landis is kind of still trying to treat him a bit like a kid and stuff. But so it was kind of, Eddie had too big of a head. John Landis was still treating him like he was, the little new kid and everything like that. So they hard clashed on this sucker. Go ahead.
So this is a quote from John Landis. On Coming to America, we clashed quite a bit. He's talking about Eddie Murphy here. We clashed quite a bit because he was such a pig. He was so rude to people. We had a great working relationship, but our personal relationship changed because he just felt that he was a superstar and that everyone had to kiss his ass. He was a jerk, but great. In fact, one of the greatest performances he's ever given. So I think we have to keep in mind who is being quoted here. I mean, John Landis is one of those directors who, like, when I walk on set, no one has a bigger swinger than me. Like, I am the biggest swinger here. And so when Eddie Murphy shows up on set, and Eddie Murphy is not like a fresh-faced kid who, gee, mister, we're going to make a movie? Like, there's that part of this too. But I do love that Landis even has to say, like, look, he's amazing in the movie. Like, amazing.
Yeah, you can't deny that. But at the same time, it's just like, for me, yeah, Eddie Murphy's going to be a bit of a jerk at that point. But at the same time, too, Eddie is also the one who hired you onto this show. He is the one, because at this point, we are post-Twilight Zone here, and John Landis is persona non grata around Hollywood in a lot of ways because things just have not gone well. And Eddie was the one who kind of stuck out his neck and says, like, you know what? I want this guy to do it. We've been there and working before. And, like, he just wanted to be treated like an adult as far as I'm concerned. And, I'm sure Landis still thought, like, come on, fella.
I mean, look, there's totally some column A, column B here happening. I mean, there's no way that Eddie Murphy is, like, free of all, like, guilt. I mean, he is not that personality in any way. However, I think that John Landis calling someone a pig and like on the record, that's an issue, dude.
It's probably going to hurt your future.
He's all right.
I would think a bit, but he's just, all he can do is just weep into his money.
There's a reason he didn't get hired to direct Norbit.
Man, listen, we'll have to wait for our Norbit series coming in, a couple years. We discussed the latter half of Eddie's career.
So Arsenio Hall,
yeah,
he's trying real hard to hang with Eddie here. The thing I noticed the most with Arsenio is that his African accent was almost not there, and it was inconsistent when it was. Was I off the mark there?
Are you suggesting for some reason Arsenio Hall is not the thespian we all thought that he was?
You guys go ahead and kick that guy.
I like him. I think he's
great in this. I think he's fantastic in this. Like, I was really kind of surprised. Like, especially when you look at his preacher character in this movie. Yes. His preacher character, for the next 40 years, people have been trying to outdo that character, and no one's come close.
And that's the kind of character you can only do if you know that guy.
Right.
Like, I believe that Arsenio went to, I don't know where he grew up, but I know he went to, I feel very strongly like growing up, he went to some church where that guy was the preacher. I like Eddie when he's the barber. I like Eddie when he's the preacher. I just don't find him as good as Simi. He's pretty hot as the lady in the club.
That was ridiculous, but I do love the look on Eddie's face here, trying to keep it together while Arsenio's dressed in drag. That's just right. It is just like to try to watch Eddie go, dear God, don't crack. You could tell they were just laughing all day long with that one. But Arsenio, no, he's actually really great here. He uses his face to a fantastic degree, yep. and that's the thing. He is going up against Eddie Murphy. It's a tough road to hoe when you're that guy. And I think he's doing as good a job that anybody can, standing toe to toe next to Eddie Murphy.
And that's the issue, is that, you have probably one of the most charismatic actors ever in Hollywood standing next to you. And you're basically there because Eddie is your best friend, and he's still doing an amazing job. I was really surprised with how well how well Arsenio Hall stands up in this movie. I was very surprised.
Yeah, top notch performance by him. And again, all the different characters and stuff like that. I know that we all think about Eddie and stuff like that when it comes to the multiple characters, but we don't think about Arsenio and all the other guys doing, multiple characters.
And, I could be wrong here, but after this movie, I don't really think of Arsenio very highly in any movie until he's in that Dolomite thing. And then he's really, really good in the Dolomite thing, I think.
Well, he's such a...
I'm sorry, Black Dynamite, not Dolomite. Very different movie.
He's such a specific person. Like, there's something very specific about Arsenio Hall. Like, you have to put him... And I would imagine he probably knows this, is that he has to be in the right scenario. It's the exact reason why he took the talk show, is that, I could work well as a talk show host. And so he did that for years, and he was very, very successful.
That show made a ton of money. People watched that. It was like, it was that kind of independent sort of like, it felt like, it felt punk rock is what it did. It did. The Arsenio Hall show. It just was just like, ooh, this feels like a dangerous late night show. And sometimes it was. Bobcat would turn things on fire. You never know.
Right.
Hey, I mean, when I watched Arsenio Hall all the time because it came on at 11, so it had a 30-minute head start over the competition. But never once did I say I wish Joan Rivers was still here.
Right. Exactly. And that's the other thing with that show too, is that like what that show does for Arsenio isn't the same feel that you get when you watch Gayle King and something. Like when I'm watching the Arsenio Hall show as a kid, I'm not thinking like. My first thought isn't he only got this show because Eddie Murphy got him this job.
Yeah.
Like he is his own man. And I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic when you think of, I can't imagine being Eddie Murphy's best friend is a very easy place to be, especially when you're best known for being in Coming to America with your best friend. Like there's always the fear of like, oh, is this the only thing I'm ever going to be known for, being Eddie Murphy's friend? And I think that's what the talk show afforded him, was like, no, I am my own person too. See?
And one of the smart things was he was never trying to kind of be Eddie.
Right. Ever.
Okay. So I just found some hot information on Wikipedia, if it's worth sharing, but it turns out that Arsenio's father was a Baptist preacher. So I think I know where he got that inspiration.
That's good.
And he did other stuff. He won The Apprentice, for crying out loud.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He beat Adam Carolla.
Yeah, they were on the same year together.
One of the things we haven't spoken to yet is the runner of every time that Eddie Murphy's Akeem character is being very loud indeed in Queens on the street. Those scenes I still laugh at, where hello, my neighbors, and they're telling him to screw off and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Those
scenes, because it happens 3 different times in the movie, very well paced out. So you're not like, okay, we get it. I love that runner of a joke in this movie. And it's a very interesting thing too, because it's one of those things where people who aren't from New York think that that's what New York is like. And that's great.
There's just some lady, and there's always like a clothesline and stuff like that. Somebody right out the window with their fist shaking.
As a person whose checking account tells him I've got to go to New York a little less often, I can tell you that it's not quite like depicted in this movie. But I've never been to Jamaica, Queens, so I don't know.
Them pigeons do be fighting. I do like that sometimes when we are on like real places and stuff like that, it feels very real. I like how we are definitely, when we're in the McDonald's ripoff there, we are in an actual restaurant and everything. I'm like, oh, they went to an actual restaurant and shot this, which is awesome because it's not a fake set and everything. I'm like, oh, real sink, real floor, good stuff.
You know what the actual restaurant was?
Well, what's that?
It was a Wendy's in real life.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Taking over that and putting a Wendy's, or taking a Wendy's and putting that in. That's super. I do
And
love
I
how
like
that's
the-
a stupid little conceit of the story too that doesn't need to be there for any real reason or whatever, but just the McDonald's ripoff and how McDonald's is like. And I love him having the book that's got McDonald's like playlist and everything, just going like, oh no, it's not McDonald's. They're not the ones that are here, are they? John Amos is
Our buns
fantastic.
don't have sesame seeds.
See,
it also gives John Amos's character something to do, right?
Yeah.
Because then if you don't give him that, he's just the guy who's like, harumph, I don't want you dating my daughter. But you give him the extra thing of that McDonald's is always trying to sue him. And there's something just inherently funny about that.
and him just trying to get money, like, like a better life for his daughter and everything. And he's going to hustle any possible way. But, and again, another smart storytelling bit where it's like, it's almost their kind of, prearranged marriage and everything, just like his situation and stuff. So a little parallel thing going on there. It's really great. And for whatever reason, I forgot about Eric LaSalle being in this movie.
Oh, as a guy who had a strong relationship with ER, the first thing I remember is Dr. Benton and his Jerry curl.
So good.
And I also grew up on Good Times, so this was like the first time I'd seen John Amos since TBS Afternoon, so I was really happy about that too.
So Eric LaSalle, there's an oral history. It's a great article. It's an oral history in Rolling Stone of making Soul Glow, like how like that whole process happened, and it's just fantastic. And they actually interview Eric LaSalle. This is his quote in Rolling Stone. It was my first big break. John Landis was there with the casting person. John Landis hired me on the spot. At that time in the 80s, you had so many people that had to sign off on you. I never auditioned for someone who had the power to just hire you. I did my audition. He gave me a note. We did it again. And he was like, that's great. I'll see you on set. I was like, excuse me? Yeah, I'm hiring you. It was so
wonderful.
It was so surreal and had a numbing effect. He had to keep telling me that I got the part. But it was one of the most empowering moments of my career. I've never forgotten that feeling. How awesome is that quote, man?
That is pretty amazing.
I love it, man.
Yeah, you're the guy. No. But really though?
Right.
He's so great. He's just so good looking and everything, and just that hair is fantastic. And his performance is just so awesome because he's such a little jerk and everything. But oh man, one of the things that I had forgotten about this movie was him and that performance and stuff like that, and just looking exactly like what's his face there.
I like how they referred to him for very, very obvious reasons as the Prince of the Soul Glow Empire.
Yeah.
And it's too bad Spin Doctors were a couple of years late with two princes, because that would have fit really, really, really well in here.
You were thinking of Rick James Portraits.
No, I was thinking of Lionel Richie, actually.
Oh, Lionel Richie. Okay,
Yeah.
so can we keep talking about Soul Glow?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is
Especially
how,
Grandma's use of Soul Glow.
well, we're not going to get to Grandma. So here's the way it went down, right? This is how the writers of the movie like came up with the concept. So in the late 1980s, Coming to America screenwriter Barry Blaustein was at a Los Angeles Clippers game watching basketball player Michael Cage, who was a defensive juggernaut and one of the Clippers' best players at the time. And he also had a Jerry curl. An idea hit the writer, and Soul Glow was born. In the Rolling Stone article written by Jason Newman in 2021, Jason Newman spoke with Michael Cage, the guy who actually was the inspiration for Soul Glow, about being the inspiration for Soul Glow. And he said, it's maintenance keeping a Jerry curl. Laugh. I love that movie, and I had no idea back in 1988 that I was the inspiration for the scene until years later, and I laughed even more, man. Awesome.
Now, what might blow your mind as well is within that Soul Glow commercial and everything, the lead singer of the song is a white man.
Oh, really?
That is a white man, everybody. And he is like, he took the internet by storm a couple years ago when he was doing I think they were doing a Tiny Desk performance or something. They cut over, and because it was Niles Rodgers. I think it was a Niles Rodgers thing, and he was doing a small desk concert. They did Soul Glow, go over to this guy, and it is a white guy that's doing that, and he's so good.
That's awesome.
I always thought it was Randy Watson.
He wishes.
It's one of the other things that they keep saying in that Rolling Stone article also that's really funny is that Blaustein and Sheffield, they say over and over again that they were always high while they were writing the script, which I just find that so funny.
Yeah,
like
it shows.
They felt the need to tell Rolling Stone over and over again, listen, we were just so high when we wrote
that's called we're trying to give excuses for things like, listen, if there's anything that you find questionable about this, we were on drugs, okay?
The scene that screams I was high when I wrote this is when mom, dad, and grandma get up from the futon and there's like the 3 So Glow oily patches where their heads were resting.
I love it. I love all those looks of those 3 where they just go, here are our parents, and it's everybody's got the Jerry curl. It's so awesome.
When I was a kid, I found that scene really funny, but as an adult, I'm like, oh, they got to throw that couch away.
Yeah, that couch is toast.
I would say that's offensive if anybody but Eddie Murphy is the lead actor. Like a Wayans brothers do that, and it's scary movie territory, but it works here.
You know, when they're in that club and they're doing the montage of all the women, like talking to Eddie Murphy's character.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I think it's really well written. I think it's really well done. But the part that drives me crazy about it is when they're walking through the dance club part, they have all of these extras in the dance club and it's all African-American people, except this one white guy. And they found the one white extra who literally has no rhythm. And so when they're walking through with the camera, you see all of these people dancing and they all look really cool. Like, you know, that late 80s cool dancing from African-American people. And then right in the middle of the dance floor is this one white guy who it's just like, come on, man. Like the one white guy in this entire scene, that's the extra you chose. It's so off-putting. It made my eyes immediately move over to where he was.
I got to say, for the record, I didn't find any of those women in the montage to be undateable. I think he's a little too picky.
He wanted, like, I don't know, that one that kept on talking, she was like, I could see, you saw the look on his face, like, oh, geez.
I think the rapping twins, I mean, that's a pull.
There were 2 sets of twins. That's the weird thing. It's just like, this guy's, you know, this one night, and you're pulling 2 sets of twins within, okay. Interesting.
Well, I mean, you know how that goes, man. Like when you want something, when you want a montage of just how strange people are, they always pull twins for some reason.
Well, yeah,
like,
I mean,
every
they're
movie does that, right?
Especially the identical ones.
Can we talk about the fact that Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate is still the greatest band name ever? There's never been a better band name than that.
At one point, I thought about suggesting for the Dinger Zone, we do like top 5 fictional bands. And it's like, we would all have Sexual Chocolate at number 1. There's no fun in that. There's no tension.
Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate is literally the best band name ever. Like, it beats the Wonders. It beats Captain Geach and the Shrimp Boat Shooters. Like, it beats all of those names. It literally.
The River Bottom Nightmare Band is pretty good.
It is, but that's number 2.
My number 2 is Hey, That's My Bike from Reality Bites.
It's funny thing about the Randy makeup and everything. That was another kind of late one. And they got, you know, obviously they've got a mold of Eddie's face and everything. And that's where they kind of put all the prosthetics and stuff while they're making them and whatnot.
Sure.
And he was like, listen, I got this character. I don't know what we're doing with it. Give me something to work with here. It's like, Eddie, what can you give me, like, the voice? What does the voice sound like? Maybe I can work from that. And Eddie's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be. He's like, just make something and I'll make the voice when I see it. And Rick Bear's like, okay. So he just put it together as best that he could to approximate something. And it's like, there you go. And then it was just kind of all Eddie from that point on. But he was just like, I don't know, just like, that's the worst ever when somebody just goes like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You just do something and I'll do it. Man, thank God it's Eddie Murphy on the other end, though.
But look, man, there's plenty of comedians who are like that, where they're like, look, it's whatever I'm wearing is going to influence the character. And that's totally, I could totally see that that's the kind of person Eddie Murphy is.
But also, it's like, give me an idea of what the character is, period.
I watched this movie a ton when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it in a long time. So when I rewatched it, like in my memory, I remembered a way more Rick James style Randy Watson. But this is kind of a one of a kind. I don't think he's really doing an impression of anybody else.
Agreed. It's like his own guy. Like he's just created his own person.
It's great, and because he goes on, and the fact that no one is reacting, and he's still just kind of barreling through it and stuff like that with just that great confidence and everything. It's so good.
Which tells you how good the editors in this movie are, because there is no way that, I mean, the crowd hate Randy Watson, but it must have been so hard to get crowd extras not to smile with Eddie Murphy doing that. Yeah. Like Eddie Murphy as Randy Watson is so inherently funny. And in 1988, especially, when you've never seen anything like this before, but you know what he's going for, like, there's no way that, like, I can't imagine, like, the AD department, the editor, like, just having to work around all of these people. I would have trouble sitting in the crowd and not smiling with Eddie Murphy doing this character.
I feel like they had to run that behind the head shot and everything, and just like he was kind of miming stuff out a lot of times or whatever, because it's like, you know, it would be tough. It'd be tough to kind of keep a straight one on for that entire bit right there. And there's a lot of stuff where we're just seeing him, so they clearly just shot a lot of him, and then there's a lot of good reaction shots within the crowd itself and stuff, and we're going back to a couple of characters and seeing their reactions enough to these things, so it lends itself enough so you can edit and make it, you know, acceptable for everything. But yeah, they definitely, for that behind the head shot and everything, they were just like, listen, y'all really got to shut up this time.
Yeah.
And this kind of feels to me like a 12-hour shoot. So after about hour 6, you're over it, you know. So I think a lot of people maybe got it out of their system on the first few takes, and it's just going and going. I get the idea that Landis took a very Stanley Kubrick approach to this film.
So maybe, but it's still Eddie Murphy, Bruce. Like, there's people who are literally in the crowd. This is their favorite actor. This is the funniest person on earth. I don't care if you're there for 4 hours or 6 hours. There's still going to be people in that crowd who are smiling and, like, trying not to giggle at Eddie Murphy at that time.
And he's trying to make them laugh.
Yes.
Like, deep down, he's trying to make these people laugh.
Right.
Also, there's a very famous extra in this movie. I mean, I'm kind of thinking back to, we got to see a very, very young Giancarlo Esposito in Trading Places, but when they first go into the barbershop, there's a kid getting his hair cut.
Yeah. Cool.
Adam's on it.
Oh, yeah.
Little old Cuba Gooding Jr. in there.
Do you guys know the deleted scene with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
I read about it. Tell him.
Is it the one where he says, "Show me the money"?
So, Cuba's character, who I don't even think he has a line in the movie, right?
No, he's just smiling in the movie.
And in a deleted scene at the end, they finish cutting his hair, and the barber character says, yo me like $10. And Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character goes, "Oh, I don't have any money." And so the barber takes a razor and just puts a line in his head, and he goes, "Okay, we're even now."
I really did think that looked a little bit like a wig.
It probably was.
It's got to be a wig.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I hope he, of course, you know, if Eddie's really method, maybe he would have done that to Cuba's real hair.
I do like him cutting off the little ponytail there and be like, all right, that'll be $8.
That's so good, man.
It's like, nah, you look perfect.
So good.
And he walks in, he wants the perm. He's like, no, you look natural, man. I love the natural look on you. It's good.
I think the funniest part of that is that $8 used to be a lot of money for a haircut.
Hey, I go to a local lady who like, this is an old timey barbershop. This is the one I went to when I was a little kid, right?
Oh, wow. You still go to the same place?
I do now. Like, forever I didn't, but now I've kind of
cut your own hair for a while.
Oh, now. Yeah. For about 20 years, I cut my own hair. But like, I went back and like, it's old school barbershop. It's two ladies that run it. They only cut men's hair. They will not cut a woman's hair. So just piss off with that. Only dudes. And, you know, I don't know exactly what it costs because I factor tip money in there as well. And so, like, you know, I hand her 20 every time. Boom. She doesn't. I'm in and out of there in 5 minutes. She's so good. Everything's just
call the shop Only Dudes.
It's called the Red Rose Barbershop, everybody. Look it up.
That's awesome, man. That's really great.
Very old school.
There's something very Americana about that I enjoy hearing that
and
story.
It's in downtown and everything, so you got to kind of park on the side of the street and walk in and everything. It's like by the big mural that's in town
great,
and whatnot. It's very Americana.
The the lady that used to cut my hair, I mean, I guess she still cuts my hair. I haven't been in a long time, but she's like friends with my better half. So it gets kind of awkward because I don't really want to go there for haircuts, but I can't really go anywhere else. And thus here we are because I really kind of need a haircut.
Now he's going with the Lorenzo Lamas just on account of. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to renegade yourself out so the public knows.
He is a total renegade. Another thing. I know I've turned into this guy on this show recently, but like that Cherokee Chief that's parked outside of McDowell's the entire movie. Mm-hmm. It's always in the same place. That truck, I want that truck literally right now. When I saw that thing and it's parked there and it's just the perfect beater truck. Like when you need to get some dirty work done, that is the truck, man. Oh, what a nice vehicle.
That was an AMC, right? I love AMC vehicles.
It's a Cherokee. So I think at that point it's still AMC. Yeah.
It definitely has that look. I mean, it's not like a Gladiator you get now.
Right. Most 80s thing of all Eddie Murphy movie month, the 80s Eddie Murphy movie month, is in the scene where we first see Lisa McDowell's office in the McDowell's.
Right.
And Eddie Murphy's walking past her window. On that window is a suction cup Garfield plushie. And those were literally everywhere in the late 80s.
All over cars.
Cars is where you saw them most. But literally, if you had a window, we got to get a Garfield on that bad boy. And it came and it felt like it was never going to go away. And it was the thing that everybody had for like 5 years. And then you never saw it again.
But then in 1989, it became Alf for a hot second.
I'd have been down with the Alf.
I had like a little Alf.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd have been down for Alf.
It's like they all got replaced with Baby on Board or a parody of Baby on Board.
Right. It's before the family stickers where it's all stick figures.
And then the ironic stick figures. You're like, oh, gee whiz.
Well, I mean, that's the next phase of everything, right? Like something becomes popular, and then there's the ironic detachment joke of that thing.
I did see one once where it was a lady, it was her cats, which isn't the funny part. The funny part is one of the cats had an X on it.
Hey, I am one of those guys. I'm never going to cheat on my Calvin peeing on something.
Chevy symbol, no doubt.
Bill Watterson is turning over in his grave and he's still alive. That's how mad he is. So one of the things that I want to talk about with the barbershop is they keep calling Akeem Kunta Kinte when he's in that shop. That is a very funny joke, but it's made extra funny because John Amos is in this movie, and John Amos is playing the older Kunta Kinte in Roots. In Roots. There is something so inherent that makes that joke so much funnier to me that John Amos is in the movie.
And I feel like that's totally intentional, right?
It's gotta be because you got John Amos in your movie. You're going to be thinking Roots for a while, man. You got to.
But at the same time, too, it was like that was such a, cultural, cornerstone and everything.
It hadn't even been 10 years.
Yeah, that was like appointment television that people like, when appointment television wasn't a thing.
Right.
People were like, oh, we gotta watch Roots. Roots is this big thing,
Oh, I was just waiting for him to call him Toby at the end, and it never happened.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad
we didn't need to go too far. That's for sure. I like all the kind of just again the hiding of everything. The kind of what do we call it? Just the rom-comminess of all of the kind of setup with everything. It's like, oh, I'm a poor man over here, and then Arsenio like gussies up the apartment and everything, and now you got to keep him out, and then you're moving to another thing, and just trying to get all those balls, in the air and everything like that. And this movie does a fantastic job of doing things like that, keeping that rolling, and keep throwing, something at the cat that's up in the tree, one more time with something.
And I love how Frankie Faison just volunteers to trade apartments with him. Like, that's one of my favorite parts.
Great character actor coming in here doing just a very interesting performance. I love this guy, just always chomping on a cigar, and he's very acceptable. He will kind of go along with anything at any particular point. He sees another angle,
you've got money,
and he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to do this. I like that guy.
When I was a kid, I didn't understand watching this movie that Eric LaSalle's family and the McDowells are in totally different tax brackets. I thought that both families were rich, because they own a restaurant. They've got to be rich, right? Like, I didn't understand. Oh, they're doing okay. They're not rich. Eric LaSalle's family is insanely rich.
Yeah, they're we're doing pretty well for us, and we got a nice house here and everything, but they aren't big money. But at the same time too, again, that's another smart thing of the screenplay is John Amos wants to do better for his family. Ultimately, he wants to see his family do better, and it comes off, I think, obviously so as greedy for money and everything, but I think ultimately his thought is, I want my family to do well for themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's why he has always kind of had that particular angle going in. And it works for the character, but it also makes sure that you can kind of take that away and then, expose humanity and all that kind of stuff. And that's why this movie works as well as it does.
There is a scene in this movie that pissed me off so very, very much. Like everything else that I'm talking about, with the exception of her barking like a dog and hopping on one foot. I hate that scene too. But the scene that really, really pissed me off is there's the Louis Anderson scene in the restaurant where basically the filmmakers are saying, look how stupid poor people are. It made me so mad because Louis Anderson says, in a year or two, I'll be assistant manager. And that's when the big bucks start rolling in, where it's like, look how dumb these stupid poor people. It made me so mad. I was so mad where it's like, see, poor people are dumb. That's why they're poor.
I do like that it at least represents that American dream of upward mobility, because in reality, when they need a new assistant manager, they hire one away from another fast food restaurant. And the guys who've been there for 25 years just has a new boss.
All I could think of is when I was a manager and I had an assistant manager, I was like, you don't know what we paid our assistant manager. Because let me tell you, the money wasn't there for me. It certainly wasn't there for the assistant manager. So no, I was just like, this poor fool doesn't know how little money he's actually going to get into with this.
There's a thing that I guess we can wait till
quick little thing about Louis Anderson, just since we're on him there and everything. They wanted, I want to say it was the producers or somebody wanted a white comedian somewhere in there. Of course. They just were like, listen, we're happy. This is a black cast and everything. Can you give us a white comedian? They were like, hey, we like Louis, but Louis was there supposedly by request of Eddie Murphy and co.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Now, I have never really been a big Louis Anderson fan. Should I have been?
It's okay.
The style of comedy, it's what's your genre of comedy, right? He's such a family friendly comic that I think a lot of people gave him hell for that. But for the style of comedy that he has, it's like hating Sinbad. Sinbad is fine. For the style of comedy he has, that's great.
It's like it might not be for you, but it's all right.
Right.
I prefer Sinbad to Louis Anderson for whatever reason. I never really latched on to Louis, which is weird because I had a pretty low bar.
You know what's super strange though is my relationship with Louis Anderson, which comes about a Fox Kids cartoon called Life with Louie.
Right. I remember that.
So, Louis Anderson had a cartoon, quote unquote, based on his life and everything, where he was the voice of his dad and stuff like that. It's like, I love that show growing up. I don't know how it would, it feels very Critic-esque, if you will.
Was that before or after the Howie Mandel thing?
That's
because he had that cartoon with Little Howie.
That's after. Yeah. Bobby's World is like early 90s.
Yeah, Bobby's World is the first one. That's the thing that like really like rips open the floodgates, where every comedian in the world is like, "Oh, wait a minute, I can have a cartoon, and all I have to do is go into a sound booth and do that's what I want to do."
And even later into the late '90s, then with Eddie Murphy and the PJs.
Yeah.
So where he,
Hey,
which I
but Eddie Murphy-
loved.
Eddie Murphy isn't doing any voices on the PJs though. He had a sound alike doing Eddie Murphy.
That
He
was
like
not
an
him?
executive
Eddie
producer,
Murphy.
right?
Not him.
You're
Hey.
shitting me.
Bill Cosby struck it first, I guess, with that whole Fat
Oh,
Albert
that's
thing.
right. Fat Albert is the first one. That's right.
Eddie was the first in claymation.
Maybe
puts
the
that one on
last.
the-
I don't know if anybody else ever did a PJs thing after.
Not quite like not to that degree and everything, but I like what a great like the style of that show was so good. Everything was great and dirty. Thurgood was a fantastic character who's always just mad and like the things that happened to him. So good.
Yeah, she conned me. Shaka Khan. Shaka
My
Khan.
my favorite bit from that was when somebody, it was like a lady from Haiti or Jamaica or somewhere, calls him up because the toilet's clogged. He pulls it up. There's a goat head wrapped in paper towels, and he says, "How many times I got to tell you not to flush paper towels?"
I'm sorry, Adam. Where are you going?
No. I was just saying you have got a couple more notes.
I do. I got a ton. I haven't even gotten into the back matter stuff. This is just the stuff that I noticed while watching the movie. So like at the McDowell's house, when we're towards the end of the movie, and there's that kind of comedy of errors thing where like people keep leaving and showing up and leaving and showing up.
Mm-hmm.
John Landis cannot help himself. He has to be John Landis, where all of these things keep going down, and he keeps cutting back to dog reactions. The dog reacting to events. He does it no less than 4 times. And I was like, "Oh, John Landis, you just got to keep being John Landis all the time. You poor bastard."
Well, at least it led to him sicking the dog on Eric
Yes.
LaSalle. So I'll give him credit that. So at least it was Chekhov's doggy, as it were.
There you go.
And I think the strongest family moment, the strongest father moment, the thing that I like best about John Amos is when the Kings offered him, I think it's up to $3 million.
Oh, it's great. And he says no.
I love that, because this is a guy who they're trying to say he's about money, but we see, no, it's not about money. It's about doing right by his kids.
It's pretty
And that
amazing.
really strikes a chord with me, especially because 3 million is like that magic number I have where you don't ever have to work again.
Right.
And to turn that down in one fell swoop, I really respected him.
I don't know. That was the
love
part of me
scene.
that just went, this movie's credibility's falling apart. This man would have taken that money. He would have taken that money so fast. I'm like, we would want him not to take the money. We'd want that. I don't know that that's what that character would have really given us. I think that really.
And I'm
there's
gonna say it
$3 million.
right here for everybody out there to know. If anyone wants to pay me $3 million not to marry my kids, I'll take it.
Yeah, I've always said that. I'm the easiest sellout you could possibly find. It's like you'd be amazed at how little I could be bought for. Very, very little. Patreon.com/HMP. That's what I'm trying to say.
Have you guys seen? Were you looking on IMDb for any information on this movie?
I caught a little here and there. I
didn't
didn't.
at
I didn't
all.
do a big
Yeah.
search, but I scraped a little.
Did you happen to come by Sherry Headley's photo on IMDb?
No.
Of, like her headshot. So her headshot is her as Lisa McDowell wearing the wedding dress, the wedding gown from this movie, where like the whole big deal, with the big trade and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She's wearing that, and it's just like a full body picture of her. And I was like, oh wow. She liked that so much that she put it as her IMDb photo. Like,
She's
it's amazing.
That's the one. That's what I'm going with. Let me see if I can pull that up. Actually,
What I would like to find out is that she actually wore that in her wedding one day. Like, like maybe she got married 5 years after this movie or something. I don't know. Maybe she's never been married, but I would love to find out that in her wedding she wore that dress.
Also, another Landis thing is that no less than 4 times do various actors, look towards the camera.
I love it. I
Me
love
too.
some of these things. The Eddie one is fantastic. There's another one where they look. I forget exactly who all the ones were, but there's a couple.
Arsenio Hall,
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, Lisa McDowell does and the dog. Those are the four that I named.
Yeah, exactly. Even the dog does
The dog
a little
gets
like
a pass.
seriously. But no, he looks, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he kind of have like a tiny little head turn that goes towards the camera?
Yes.
So like, he's
like,
going, really?
Yes, it's edited to look like he's literally looking into the camera like, can you believe this shit?
Yeah,
They
the
just did
cameraman
it the
had to shake
opposite way.
bacon or something to get that reaction.
You guys want to hear the back matter notes that I have on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Kingdom of Zamuda in the screenplay was originally named Zmuda after writer Bob Zmuda.
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully, John Landis was like, no. There was a pilot for a TV series based on this movie that they shot. Guess who's playing Akeem? Take a guess.
Oh, it's got to be Chris Rock, right?
No.
No.
Get another Eddie type.
Is it Malcolm Jamal Warner? I don't even know.
I was kind of surprised because it's kind of good casting. It's Tommy Davidson.
Yeah, okay. I could see
Not
that.
bad. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, first movie, his character name, Boy Getting Haircut.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's better than Boy One.
So I don't know about you guys. I always wondered if Eddie and Charlie Murphy had a good relationship because I couldn't remember ever seeing Charlie Murphy in a movie. Like later on, I think he's in something, but like during Eddie's heyday, I never remembered seeing Charlie Murphy in a movie. And so in 2016, Eddie Murphy does an interview and they ask him like, what's your relationship with Charlie? And Eddie's like, I love Charlie. Like Charlie is literally the first impression I was ever able to do, which I thought was interesting that somebody who is so great at impressions, his first one is Charlie Murphy. That's pretty great. America would be doing Charlie Murphy impersonations about 25 years later.
Oddly enough.
I think through most of like this era, like what I would call peak Eddie Murphy, he was still part of Richard Pryor's entourage, so he's probably just too busy.
Maybe.
Well, I do know for this one, according to Rick Baker's book, he was a stand-in for Eddie in some of those scenes.
Oh, that would make sense.
So that seemed right to me. I was like, oh, okay, yep.
Can you guys guess what Siskel and Ebert thought of this movie?
I'm going to say Siskel hate, Ebert love.
Bruce?
I was going to say 2 thumbs down because it's a simple story and it's silly comedy. It seems like they don't like the things that hold up sometimes.
Well, boys, I hope you brought your wood screws because you're about to have your doors blown clean off.
Well,
Split decision. Siskel loved it. Thought Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall were great in it. Ebert thought the script was too old-fashioned and literally says the line on the TV show. I'm quoting here. He says, it's 1988. Let's see a script that says something new.
Hey, they can't all be returned to Valley of the Dolls.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
wow.
So Siskel thumbs up, Ebert thumbs down. Eddie Murphy did an interview for something called the Spokesman Review a few years ago. And he said that he and Arsenio Hall have been friends for 40 years, seeing each other 2 or 3 times a week, each week.
Nice.
That answers a question I had on whether they're like real life friends or like showbiz friends. Like we love working together. We text each other, we call each other, but to know that they actually physically go grab a sandwich or something, that answers the question that they really do get along. And it's not like, hey, we got this thing that works, let's stick with it or something.
Yeah, it's pretty good to hear that it's not like a Pryor and Wilder relationship.
Mhm.
It's like they're actually friends.
Because for the record, the 3 of us see each other less than once every 5 years now.
But
Well-
we make up for it in so many other ways that, like, I tell people, I'm just like, there are close family members that I don't talk to as much as I talk to these boys. So I think the same thing could probably be said with you guys.
I knew we had turned a corner when I had seen something like online, and I was like, "Oh, the boys are going to love this."
Yeah.
So Eddie Murphy thinks there's only one movie that he turned down that he kind of regrets because it went on to gigantic massive success. And it's not Ghostbusters. Do you guys have a guess what that movie is?
That's a good one. I don't know.
E.T.
Eddie Murphy stars beside Henry Thomas.
That is not a bad guess, Bruce, because that movie is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he was offered the Bob Hoskins role.
Wow, what a different movie.
It would be a very, very different movie, yes.
Too bad he didn't get the Mario role that Bob Hoskins. Did Bob Hoskins play Mario?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Mario.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy is Mario. That I could have gotten into. Him and Leguizamo, they would have worked great together.
Man.
Oh, there's no way that Eddie Murphy would have ever allowed Leguizamo to be Leguizamo.
I could not imagine a world where he would allow John Leguizamo anywhere on the set.
No way.
What about a little one-on-one scene with Eddie Murphy and Dennis Hopper?
I would love to see that.
If only it had the Kyle MacLachlan role in Blue Velvet, we would have gotten that.
Darn it. Again, that's what we should be doing is casting Eddie Murphy in other films that he doesn't belong in. We've been going about it wrong.
Podcast. So Better with Eddie.
So Eddie Murphy made $8 million for this movie.
Not a bad payday in 1988.
No, definitely not. He probably bought half of of where he grew up in Queens with that. Eddie Murphy also paid for Red Fox's funeral.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard that along the way.
Shout out to Harlem Nights. Red Fox was great in that movie.
And last thing I have here is that Eddie Murphy met Arsenio Hall at a party when they were first introduced by Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Huh.
Pretty cool.
Wow. Covering the whole spectrum there.
No kidding.
I was always a Keenan Ivory Wayans fan. I don't know. I think he's overshadowed by some of the lesser work that his brothers did without him later on, but I think he was great.
Well, I think that Damon is a funnier performer, but I think that Keenan had more filmmaker in him.
He was the brains behind all of it at the end of the day. He was the dad figure that everybody kind of looked to and's like, that's the man in charge right there.
Mm-hmm.
The best analogy I ran across is that he was the Lorne Michaels of the family.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
100%. Yeah, he's just, but I think, more talented than Lorne, because Lorne's not writing sketches and stuff.
Not anymore, but he did that first season.
Yeah, Lorne they didn't just hire an accountant to come produce SNL. I mean, he had to get there somehow.
I've got P&L reports for you. I hope you enjoy
he was the guy who was smart enough to steal all the talent from National Lampoon's radio show.
If you need to do something for yourself, like spend some money, get a good meal.
Overall, I like where this ends. I don't know where they would go with a sequel with this. I mean, obviously, I know that one exists and stuff like that, but is there still any, after watching this one, is there any want to watch that at all for anyone?
No.
I've seen it, and I can say, honestly, the only reason to watch it is if you want to see, what does Eddie Murphy look like many, many years later?
Older than this, I would imagine.
The plot's about an unknown illegitimate child or something that Eddie had, and it's just it's just like rehashing the same beats, but not as original, obviously. And also, it really has that feeling like the people. It almost feels like someone forced them all to make this. It's really one of those classic money grab movies, what was made during the pandemic. So there wasn't a lot of competition. They put it out on streaming, and it's a straight up 3-star. Like, you forget it the minute after you watched it, but you don't hate watching it.
Did they at least have the common courtesy to go to the West Coast in this one, or did they go back to New York again? Or do you even? Or
I feel very strongly like they went back to New York, but man, like I said, you watch it, you forget it, and you have no reason to watch it a second time. So you could tell me that it was like a crossover with the Planet of the Apes thing that's going on now, and I believe you. You could tell me that it had an animated sequence, I would believe you. I can't remember. Maybe Stan Lee makes a cameo. I don't know.
Hello there, true believers. I'm cutting hair this week. Sit down, sir. Now listen, I don't cut a lot of black people hair, but I'm willing to try anything.
Well, when you really think about it, the modern Eddie Murphy is Stan Lee in all those Marvel movies.
Yeah, he's kind of showing up and doing his little cameos within his own movie, which is hilarious to do cameos in the movie that you're starring in.
It definitely pales in comparison to the movie that I had watched that made me interested in watching Coming to America was the whole Rudy Ray Moore biopic that he did.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? He's doing good work now, and streaming might be his new. No, it's not.
Maybe not. Listen.
Might as well make Haunted Mansion 3 or whatever.
Hey, listen, you give the kids what they want, right?
I don't think kids wanted Haunted Mansion.
Sure.
My kids didn't like it.
They gotta love it. Why not? All right. So if we had to recast this movie, though, who do you got? This is gonna be a tough one. Now, I think I took this route because I remember if we can't find somebody that we would legitimately put in this role that we think would be good, we have to go the opposite direction. So in this role, I have also Saturday Night Live alum Joe Piscopo. He's got to do other roles. He's got to do other things. Put Joe Piscopo in this. It's not going to be good.
That's really rough, man.
But that's who I would put in this role.
You should at least go with Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal would be a fun one. That could be all right.
Yeah, Billy Crystal will be better than Piscopo here. Piscopo, I'm not a fan.
I'm going for a bad choice. That's the thing. If I'm not going for the good one, I'm going for
Billy
the
Crystal,
purposely bad.
Billy Crystal lived in Huntington for 3 months, so I like him better.
It's just called being in a film, I think.
No, he played baseball for Marshall when he was in college for his freshman year.
Okay.
And after once he left because he's like, yeah, Huntington sucks.
Since he's a small Jewish man, that he didn't. That's why they kind of like, get out of here. You're not good at baseball, was it?
Okay, so he lost his fastball, right? But I think I have the guy. When he was funny, he was exceptionally funny in his own movie. That movie is Hollywood Shuffle. And Robert Townsend might be able to pull this off.
You nailed it right there, Sean. That's the person I was looking for because it's an African prince. You really got to use an actor of color. I was really struggling. I was thinking of people that probably weren't on the scene in '88, like Omar Epps. People like not Omar Epps. Who's the comedian?
Mike Epps.
Like people like that, but they're not really on the scene yet. In Living Color has hit by '88, so you could use Damon Wayans. Yeah. Robert Townsend is he's the real legitimate. You can't get Eddie. You go for Robert Townsend choice.
Right. He is the right choice here, I think.
He could pull it off. He could pull off the Regal thing because he's, and he's a good looking guy. So definitely leading man quality and everything like that. So yeah, that's a great choice.
You recast Arsenio Hall with Meshack Taylor. There's no question there.
Oh yeah. Honestly, that would be good.
Women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or Damon.
Damon be a good choice as well.
God, he's got to be the lead though if it's Damon.
But Damon Wayans isn't the main character in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
But that's because his brother made the movie, so he could tell him sit down, shut up.
No, I don't think that's how that works, man. But
I don't know. My brother,
especially not in 1988. I mean, 1988. Damon Wayans is like. I mean, keep in mind, Eddie Murphy is just a tornado. Like everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Eddie Murphy."
What about Keenan? What about Keenan and Damon in these roles?
I don't know why Eddie Murphy and Keenan Ivory Wayans never worked together. I'm kind of baffled by that. But they
two strong A personalities, baby.
Maybe they're clearly friends. I mean, he introduced him to Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, maybe it's just one of those.
The first time I ever saw. The first time I ever remember seeing Chris Rock was in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, so you could put him in here as one of the barbershop people.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's all come down to this. Bruce, what is your star grade and recommendation for Coming to America?
Okay, so this is a movie that I really, really enjoy. I think that almost anybody who watches it is going to enjoy it, but it's not top notch. It's a simple story, but it's got some great performances. There's some parts that maybe didn't age as well as others. I'm gonna have to go with the solid 4 out of 5 though on this. I would give it Instead of stars, what am I going to give it? I'm going to give it Zamundian dollars. I'll give it 4 Zamundian dollars out of 5.
Hey, that's not too bad, Sean.
You know, have you ever dated someone and you broke up?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the second part of the question.
And then thank you, Bruce, for cutting me off again. You're dating, like I literally am in the middle of a joke and you just killed it. Thanks, man. I give it 3 stars. This movie is not. I remember watching this movie, like I said, and it was my favorite movie for a long time. And then I kind of knew, I was like, oh, this is going to age poorly, this movie, so I don't want to see it. So I didn't, and until this week. And it's not terrible. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's definitely not like watching The Black Hole, but it's not great either.
Put it on the poster, not like watching The Black Hole.
But it's 3 stars for me. It's not terrible, but it's not something where like, oh, my kids gotta watch this one. Like your kids are not going to like this movie.
Yeah.
So 3 stars for me.
I'm gonna go 3.5 on this one, mostly because it's one that I hadn't seen in so long, and I had a lot more laughs than I suspected that I probably would. I thought there'd be a lot of kind of cringy things in here, and there were maybe just only a little handful of those here and there. But it's mostly just some funny stuff, a lot of like kind of funny old school sort of stuff as well, which I certainly enjoy because it's just sometimes there's just dumb comedies, dumb and good. And I like that well enough. And for this, I had a good enough time. And again, seeing that great Eddie Murphy makeup and all the characters that he's doing, it's just so much fun to see him riff and try to do, 8 billion things at once. And I can only imagine the hecticness that set had to be with all of this stuff going on and all the different changes and characters and angles and whatnot. What a mess. But they pulled it off the whole movie itself quite fast from beginning to end and put out. I less than a year for the entire thing. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars for me on that one.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like everything you just said is correct. I think that it's also one of those movies too, where like so much of American comedy has is built upon what came before. And so much has come from this film that I mean, to this day, like does In Living Color exist without this movie? Probably not. Does Martin Lawrence have nearly the movie career? Does Will Smith have nearly the movie career if this movie doesn't exist? Probably not. It's or damn any American movie where people are playing multiple roles. This is usually the standard bearer. Right?
Yeah. Are you going to be as good as Eddie in this? And then, of course, it went on to when he would do more and more and like your Nutty Professors and all that kind of stuff, where it's just more Eddie doing more things. And you're just like, damn, is there anything this guy can't do?
Right.
And the answer is no, I don't think, for the most part. Like, at least certainly at this time, the man could do whatever the hell he wants to, for sure. Yeah. It's like, hey, he's coming off of this movie. He's coming off of like 2 albums or something.
Just to throw another side of the coin in there, though, like playing the multiple characters in this movie sort of opened a Pandora's box, because a lot of what I don't like about a certain era of Eddie Murphy's career is the whole Clumps kind of phenomenon, the Clumps, the Norbits. I think he got a little too carried away with playing every character he possibly could, but that's just a me thing, taste, comedy, it's all subjective. But for me, I feel like this was the good thing that got overdone later.
We hear you loud and clear. You hate Eddie Murphy. We got it. It makes nothing but sense to us. We get it. Last minute for the end of the show here. Let's go to our comment section. Wouldn't you know it? We've got a Portress Bucks coming in here from the Night Bar that says, Bruce, that sports coat is on point.
Made it myself from a flag I found on a pole outside the post office.
Absolutely and utterly a lie. He did not do any of those things.
I thought you meant the on point was a lie.
No, not at all. Nightbar, thank you for stopping by and dropping us a super chat there and everything, and we appreciate you, man. So awesome that anybody watches the crap that we do week after week.
Sir Derrick, he deserves a full name. Sir Derrick the Night Bard.
Sir Derrick the Night Bard. I'm sorry. Well, let's. Well, I mean, it's listed there. You know how it is. Whatever, everybody. But next month, everybody. Next month we got a new one on our hands here, and next month is a journey. a journey into self-discovery, a journey possibly into madness. In July, we are going to explore decades of movies, each with their own successes and failures. There's a new one on the horizon, so we figured that we'd start at the beginning. So next week, we are kicking off our Fantastic Foursome, 4 Fantastic Four films, and we're going to start with the first one, the most infamous one, never released to the public. Roger Corman produced Fantastic Four from 1994. Who's excited?
It'd be like Dragon Con a few years ago, and that when we kind of talked about that once.
Yeah,
before?
so Bruce, I, and Matt Smith did an HMP live at Dragon Con years and years ago, forever at this point, for Fantastic Four. Sean wasn't there, but we're gonna bring it in and see how the original Fantastic Four came out. Then we're gonna go see the new one. Then we're gonna cover 2 other Fantastic Fours from 2 other eras and stuff like that, and see who reigns supreme and why the hell we can't seem to get this thing right.
I need to take a mea culpa. I said July 11th. Fantastic Four is July 25th. So we'll be capping the icing on the cake with the new release.
Ah, even better, even better. So there you go. Me screwing up times and dates and stuff like that. That's because I'm not watching the trailer.
That was me. I was the one who screwed it up.
No,
so
but I agreed with it though. So that's on me for not double checking.
That's way better programming wise.
No, it's totally better. I thought it was at the end of the month, but then Bruce is like, "Oh, it's the second one." I'm like, oh, "Okay, well,
we can go
even better.
Straight chronological now. That'll work well."
Oh, so we can die slowly as the month goes on. So hopefully you will join us for our descent into madness as we cover all the Fantastic Four films. And if you'd like to, of course, help us out over at patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, all that kind of good stuff. Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I want to put in a plug for a Facebook page called Naughty Hookers, but it's spelled Knotty. So Naughty Hookers Stitch Society. My wife is starting a crochet business, and
that's funny.
Go give her a like on Facebook because she's got like 270 likes, but you get to a certain point and then you can do more stuff. I don't know. You don't have to like crochet. All you got to like are hookers. So go Naughty Hookers Stitch Society on Facebook. Give it a like. I would appreciate it, and then you can get like a cool crocheted bucket hat or something from her.
Heck yeah. Sean, we're going to be scooting soon?
I don't think anybody saw that that's where Bruce was headed with the plug.
Thankfully, I did because I'm friends with his wife on Facebook, so I knew where he was going, thank Christ, because I would have had that same look on my face that you did.
Yes, the answer is yes. I'm about to shoot a whole bunch of me touring places on a scooter.
Trolling around.
Yeah, so check that out if you just want something very chill in the background, or if you want something where you're like, man, I don't care, just put anything on. Like that works for that too.
I got an idea for you, right? Because I know you got the new glasses. What if you got the glasses for your front, right? And then you put the GoPro for the back, so you can show us a front and a back and be like A-Bing on us. Think about it. We're throwing stuff out there.
That's not a bad idea.
So you can
I was going to ask.
Here they are right here.
I was going to ask a technical question about the glasses, and it's not a joke, but like, do they record to your phone? Do they have an SD card built into the glasses? How do you record the data?
They record to the phone.
Oh, perfect.
Very nice.
I'm really looking to get me a pair of prescription Google or Meta. They're not Google, they're Meta glasses, but I'm looking to get a prescription.
That's what these are.
So I'm trying to get all the answers.
This is literally what those are.
The Wayfarers, right?
Huh?
You got the Wayfarers, it looks like. The
Yeah,
Wayfarers. I'm looking at the frames. Yeah, because I don't want the goofy Zuckerberg version that we saw.
No, I did not want to.
What are you talking about, guys? These are normal glasses for normal people. I love them. They are great to put on my face and to guard me from the sun. That is it, everybody. That will do it for this episode of HMP. Join us next week for the original Corman-produced Fantastic Four from 1994. For Sweet Sean's a co-action of the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress, reminding you to go watch some movies, you dirty babies.